Right now we're in the middle of making a record, doing all the live animation that's going to be played during the tour, and finishing up season 4 of Metalocalypse all at the same time. But like most of Metalocalypse, we shoot our mouths off and we say we're going to be able to do something, and then we don't have a choice. We either do it or we'll get sued by the network. And we could very well be fucked. We could very well not finish this stuff. That's a possibility. So what I'll do here is Gene will lay down all his drums. We'll have drums, and I kind of use this time to kind of arrange and work out drum parts with Gene.
Brendan, walks in with about a half a song for each song because he creates the illusion of a full new song per episode. But we're basically getting in the studio and he's writing the rest of the song, and Gene Hoglan learns it on the spot, and we track the drums.
If there is, say, 30 seconds of a song in the show, in the studio we flesh out the song, then we track it. You have an absolute minute skeleton in the morning, and by the end of the day you have a completed Dethklok song. The challenge is trying to make a song sound like you've spent months in the rehearsal studio, months, just tinkering over the song and giving the song a lot of TLC.
Gene is he's a pleasure to work with, first of all. He's got a memory that's amazing. You just need to tell him once, and I speak in whatever. I'll use some kind of shorthand that maybe I'm inventing on the spot because I'm not a drummer, though I program drums. I'd like to hear that the 2-beat thing at the end of the whole phrase. The bong, bong. I'd like to see if I could hear that first one simple, and then the second one what you're doing.
Okay.
This is the most important thing that I can say, and I say this often, is that he is easy to get along with, and he's got a good sense of humor, and he's got a good sense of humor about himself.
I just did this. I grow these long nails just because they're appendages, but I just lost this one.
Oh dear God!
I broke a nail.
The thing is, I'm not just, when I called Gene initially, I wasn't just calling a guy who's a great drummer. I was calling someone who's going to be my roommate for a certain amount of time on the road, and we have to be cool with each other. Usually, just the idea of the whole song comes first, and getting from one section to the next is usually where we spend most of our time. Like, here's a cool part, let's contradict that by going into this slower kind of like breakdown groove, and to build on that and to try to make it kind of function on its own logic, or hopefully fun listening. But you can keep on playing with it forever. But luckily, we don't have forever.
Deadlines are...
Yeah, we've got a pretty hard deadline. A harder deadline on this one than the other ones. This is where Gene Hoglan actually lived in this room. This is his shitty apartment.
That's right. Hey.
I mean, it's nice. It's a nice apartment, but it's very small. Gene's a very tall gentleman.
Gotta see my bedroom. It's a closet.
And then we go into the horrible, grueling part of recording rhythm guitars. So what I'll do here is we'll have drums, and then I'll do all my rhythm guitar parts, which to me is a maddening way to live your life. That is a right arm workout. Rhythm guitars are just a super laborious pain in the ass. It's not fun. There's nothing fun about it. It has to be so precise, and you have to do it twice. So the left hand guitar is on the left side, and then you do a guitar on the right side, and they have to be pretty much totally identical, or it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like as powerful as it can sound. And in metal, that's the most important thing I think you can do.
Pretty good.
What's that?
That was pretty good.
That was okay. It's okay. Started out not terrible. Past that, then pass for live. Not on a record. Right.
One more in there?
Sure. Let's try it. As I'm still kind of learning these songs, getting them under my fingers, I haven't worked out the logic of them, so I'm doing a lot of trial and error, trying to just get the best version, the best attack, and not making the guitar ring out and all that stuff. Do another one of those just really quickly. Alright, guitar, I don't like you, and you don't like me. But together we gotta get this finished. The only thing that we're doing right now is making ourselves miserable. And when we finish this record, we'll make other people miserable with this horrible, painful experience that we're experiencing right now. I lost my mind on how to listen to that thing.
Stabs always sound fine. It's just like it always loses me when the stabs happen. It always sounds like 5 stabs, which is always odd. You know what I mean?
Let me see. Maybe it's just the clarity of the riff right now. I think it's still kind of working itself out a little bit. I'll try it the old way and see what happens. This is like at the end of Amadeus, where Salieri's trying to push Mozart and slowly killing Mozart. Salieri. Now I understand what Amadeus is going through. Yeah. We've been in this room for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brendan is really quite amazing. He's juggling probably about 6 million different things. Lucky for him, he thrives under pressure and with deadlines, and it's actually it's really quite a pleasure to work with him. He's very decisive. Like he's here to get the job done, and he knows what he wants, and he goes for it. It's refreshing.
Brendan's awesome. I love working with Brendan. He's one of my most favorite people I've ever worked with. The one thing that about Brendan that I love personally is he's always had my back. You know, I can't say that about every person I've worked with. You know, he's always had my back in this biz. You know, plus his sense of humor is awesome. You know, he has us laughing all the time.
He's super relaxed. I mean, like, think about it. He's got this kind of like empire that he's got to deal with. You know, we've got the recording side, and he's got the television side. We've got the live show side, and that has animation for it as well. Ultimately, he's the only guy that everything has to go through, and to be that guy, and for him to be able to interact the way that he does, which is usually very, very calm, that takes a lot, so I'm pretty impressed, I have to say.
Let me have one more. Let me just see if I can beat that, just for my own personal reasons.
There you go. Yeah. Now it's all ego. Here we go.
Yep, I know. It's the best thing I can do in TV, in writing, with a storyboard artist, with Antonio, the art director, with Felipe, Brooks. You know, I'll come up with one idea and I go, here's an idea. It's your job to beat this idea and make it cooler. And usually they rise to the challenge and they want to beat the idea, and then we're collaborating, and then you've got something cooler than one person's lonely, stupid idea. You want to involve other people, and it's much more fun that way.
everybody that's seen it is has started with a "oh shit" or a "Jesus Christ," and then started laughing nervously.
Good.
Yeah.
By some miracle, we got Werner Herzog to be a part of a TV show, season 4, because there was a character that I had in mind, and he was going to have these kind of biblical kind of readings at the top of each episode, and then later reveal himself on the show. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool? I hear in my mind that slow, kind of methodical speaking of Werner Herzog, and I thought, what if sometimes people do voiceover? Yeah. And I thought also, wouldn't it be the coolest fucking thing in the world if we could open the whole show with the voice of Werner Herzog summoning Dethklok from the pits of hell? And so he showed up.
People of the earth, I am sent with a grave warning. We live in dark and tumultuous times. Our very planet continues to fester and buckle below our feet. You see, the Metalocalypse looms nearer.
The last line, you see the Metalocalypse looms nearer.
Yeah.
And if we could just even take that last line by itself and maybe have that be the line with the most gravitas.
Okay. So I make a bigger pause and you can, whatever, I try to do it organically.
Yes.
But have it separate as a statement, as an erratic block out there in the landscape.
Yes.
All right, let's try it. You see, the Metalocalypse looms nearer.
You know, it's going to be crazy. You know who that's for? That's for me, that we got Herzog to come and do this. That's more exciting for me. I think the people that do realize who that is and realize the importance of a guy like that and that he's in our show will go insane.
I summon Dethklok.
I like that. I do. I think it comes through in the performance really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
So I proclaim it to an arena.
You're proclaiming it in front of the Gibson Amphitheater for 5,000 people, sold out. People ready to hurt themselves in this pit before you.
Yes, yeah.
They will start going insane and just. I think I would like to challenge you to see if you can even beat that one.
Yeah. So it's kind of almost suffering. You see me and suffer. Me ves y sufres. Okay. I summon the behemoths of the netherworlds, the demons of time, the beast warriors from the deepest pits of hell. I summon Dethklok.
It all works. It works fantastically.
Yeah, I think you got it.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Thank you for going that far. Brian Beller's playing bass on the record, and he's touring with us, and he hasn't played full bass on a record before.
On the first 2 Dethklok albums, Brendan recorded all the bass except for one song. But then there was Brendan Small's Galacticon, which is Brendan's solo album, and he asked me to record the whole thing. So we sat there and we just kind of like approached each song on an individual basis and just said, okay, well, here's the riff, let's try this line, let's try that. And it became actually truly collaborative.
I was doing 1-5-1. Is that what you're doing?
We're just taking it the same way. We're just approaching every song like, okay. I mean, I don't even know how to play through the songs before we start recording.
That's kind of cool. I think you can probably go up.
Okay, so
that's cool. We think about the bass a lot on the show, even though the majority of the jokes are at the bass player's expense on the show. And I think it's important to know that there's a lot of thought that goes into the bass playing.
You know, this is the most often asked question that I get, you know, or sometimes it's not even a question. Most of the times it's just a declarative statement. You're Murderface, dude! I'm not Murderface. I'm only here to make him sound good, which, as anyone who follows the show would know, is a Herculean effort.
There, get it, one take Willie. I'm gonna sound like Peter.
It's not easy to make Murderface sound good. because Swisscar's playing all his bass parts anyway. And the idea that I can somehow salvage Murderface's reputation is, even if I were twice the bass player I was, that wouldn't be possible anyway.
It'd be impossible, yeah.
So it's not about that.
Yeah, but there are bass players like Murderface out there, I think, and there are players like Brian Ballard, which are not the same. I love playing bass, but the guy is just so much better at bass, and he just gets a better tone out of the instrument, and he thinks like a bass player, which makes the songs better.
Kind of been playing like strange, fancy music for a while, but I've always loved metal. It's just that no one ever hired me to do a metal gig. So this is a really, really cool opportunity for me to like break out all this stuff that I was practicing when I was like 17, 18 years old, and so thank God for Dethklok.
I thought my main note about the whole thing was the bass was too loud.
Oh, really?
What I'll do is I'll take a song that has rhythm guitars and bass, and either go vocals first or guitar first, depending on how I'm feeling. In this case, I feel like doing the guitars first. I keep going back to this guitar because it stays in tune really nicely. It sounds incredibly crystal clear, and it's easy to play. And this is the Thunder Horse. So even playing that little part, there's so many places where you could screw up or make noise or just make something sound like garbage. So that's the whole trick, is to make it hopefully sound like it's alive, like there's enough kind of life in the playing, like a little bit of vibrato. And then I'll loop a section and just keep on, and that's how I'll write melodies and stuff. It's just loop a section for a really long time and see what happens. So that sounds pretty cool. That's like the second time this thing happens in the song, so I figured I'd up the stakes and add a couple more guitars. And then an octave guitar and a harmony. Basically now I have this song mapped out. I don't think I'm not putting keyboards on this song. This song was written back in the early Dethklok era. I think it was pre-keyboards. I think that's something that Toki may have added to the band. And I think probably Magnus was probably against keyboards. Even though this is a pretty melodic song, I'm sure he fought for all the melody to be out of it. Mostly I think what would be cool, and then I think about like, what does Swisscar do and what does Toki do? Toki, I think, at his best, he's not a bad guitar player. At his worst, he gets very nervous. So people always wonder, why is Toki in the band if he's so shitty? He's not a shitty guitar player. He gets really nervous, and that's the way that I think about him. I'm also Toki, because I remember being a young guitar player, and not being a bad guitar player, but getting so nervous that I would blow it every single time. So that, for me, is me inside of Toki. Swisscar just doesn't make mistakes. You know, he's just one of those guys that he's the guy that I wish I were as a guitar player. More modal guitar player, or someone who would probably be a little bit more scholarly, who actually thought about the note choices and all that stuff, who would actually be able to throw in some kind of like harmonic minors and like natural sevens on a minor, or get into some melodic minor stuff or some cool shit, where I think Toki is mainly nuts and bolts kind of pentatonic player. Maybe I'll throw it away. It's really outside and fucked up though. Am I losing my mind thinking about characters? As I It actually, you know what though? I'll tell you something. I don't know how other people make records. It's so much easier for me to write a song if I know who's writing it, which character's writing it, who's written the guitar part, who's what fight was had over, you know, what part. But it does make some shit easier for me.
His songs are very orchestral. Like, there's many different parts that come in and overlap, and it's not your standard two rhythm guitars and a solo guitar.
There's something you don't hear in Dethklok song that often. Clean, kind of somewhat clean guitars.
You know, it really, each song builds and is pretty much a journey and an odyssey in itself.
Yeah, but you know what? It's interesting is that the Dethklok songwriting style is evolving a little bit. You know, it's not exactly the same as it was from the first record, where you had these really simple songs. I think that's probably a cool thing. You know, there should be some evolution that goes along with that. Parts, and so there's more as a musician for me to kind of sink my teeth into.
French horns and French horns and violins, pretty much. I'm glad I'm done with that one. Even though I have to, there's one part I completely forgot to put in there. That no one will even probably hear. But still, I'll know. And then the next thing I'm going to do is start working on lyrics and start mapping that whole thing out. I have to know what the song is about in order to write it. It has to be about something. It can't just be about just like a bunch of mixed up words kind of thrown together, even though no one will know what I'm saying 9 times out of 10. But the lyrics will be printed, so I have I ejaculate fire, a venomous fluid, cantankerous druid. Say what you will, that rhymes. It kills when I breed with my death seed, checkmate. World dies when I procreate, a bloodied mess bubbles with heat, fear the splattering, acidic demattering, it burns, I'm fried to my loins, testicular propane tanks exploding. I defy Paul McCartney or John Lennon to write anything better than that. I think it's impossible. And here's the second verse. I perpetuate bile, a built-up congestion, epidemal retention, and that's medical research right there that I did. Epidemal retention. I don't think I'm using it right. My semen is flames, flagellum is pain. Fuck fate, earth crushed from atomic weight, a hardened thrust deep in the core, rhythmic pummeling, cataclysmic tunneling, incinerate the molten core. Something's my rancid genetic cannon fire, something like that. There are a couple parts that I'll improvise or do something differently, and then I'll have to just remember them. At some point, this guy is having sex with the earth and ejaculating fire into its core. Why? Because he couldn't get laid. Because it's just me doing all the stuff by myself at this point. I have a perfect system set up where I'll have my headphones on and I have the mix going on. I'll turn off music pretty much in that room, but I've got my own screen here for Pro Tools, and I start and stop my own sessions. And I can edit on the fly. If I want to go and grab one little syllable a little bit better, I'll just keep doing it, then I'll go back in the other room and listen and go back and forth and then I'll write in here, even though it gets hot and horrible because there's no ventilation. I'll sit there and I'll try to write through, and my voice is hoarse and scratchy, and I'm trying to make all that shit sound scary and brutal and appropriate. I gotta start rehearsing, I gotta load in for rehearsal, stress over guitar parts, stress over vocals, about getting my guitar rig live up and running. I've gotta go back and spend half the day at Titmouse finalizing all the animation for the tour, all that stuff, which is coming together nicely. The videos are looking great, the wraparound and the bumps. And on live on guitar, one of my favorite guitarists is in the band, a guy named Mike Keneally.
Basically the way it works is whatever the first part that Brendan records is the part that he plays live, and basically I'm like the first overdub. Whatever the next part that Brendan lays down is what I try to nail. And then often he does these very architectural, sort of Brian May influenced guitar harmony sections, and I try to grab as much of that as possible, being just one guy with some pedals.
You know, when you have one of the best drummers in the world, one of the best guitarists in the world, and one of the best bass players in the world, and then you put me in the middle, there's no way I can sound bad. So I can drop my guitar, which I have done often. I can miss important parts of the song, which I've done, and they cover for me. Mike Keneally doesn't make a mistake. Gene Hoglan doesn't make a mistake. Brian Bella will maybe once I think he said, I screwed up that one part. I can't believe it. I go, you guys, I don't even know if I was playing the same song you were. I'm losing a whole week to rehearsals for this fucking stupid Comic-Con thing that I don't give a fuck about because I'd rather be working on the record. I mean, I think people will enjoy it. It'll be a fun thing. The only one person that's not going to be enjoying it is me. It's happening at the worst time, so Comic-Con can suck my dick.
You know, it's an honor to be playing with Brendan. To think that he kind of created this whole world out of nothing. You know, that, okay, I've got a premise for a show, there's going to be this band, right? It's going to be a metal band. It's going to be a cartoon. And then to write really legitimate, like, excellent, extreme metal music for this band to play. And then to make these records, to have a live show, have all this creative stuff going on, I'm kind of like, Jesus, you know, that's a major, major accomplishment.
The sort of multimedia mindfuck aspect of it, where the cartoon's up on the screen and we're playing live, and the way we're synced up, and the general turmoil of it all. I think it's fantastic. You know, it's a fun thing to be a part of.
I think they're one of the coolest bands around. Whether we're a real band or a cartoon band or whatever, I think the music is amazing. I love the music, and that's the thing that really captivated me the first time when Brendan called me up. He's like, this isn't cheesy. It's made by a metal guy that likes metal. You can tell he's into metal, you know. Take the challenge with Dethklok against any other metal band, and we're gonna be cool, you know. Got great players, great songs, and, you know, it's the vibe of the fun. So how cool is that?
There never has been a person between me and what the audience hears. It's always been what I feel at a certain time and when I abandon something, and that's it. So what you hear is whatever decision I've made and have gotten sick of the earlier version, and that's it. There are going to be some old sounding kind of classic Dethklok stuff in this, and then there's going to be some new crazy stuff. There's going to be some really ugly stuff and some really pretty stuff. I've got 4 songs I haven't even opened up to look at. I went there about 10 days. 10 actual days of work. It's possible. I can do it. We may just have a record with 4 songs like that, with the possibility. And then I'll get sued.